I'm John Goss, your Dojo TV Aikido instructor, and this tape number 2 of my series, will conduct techniques in basic pinning, or saiwaza, of Aikido. We're going to look at 3 basic pinning techniques: ikkyo, nikkyo, and sankyo. That's 1, 2, and 3 pinning controls. With my assistant, Mr. Scott Sobel, we're going to start to show you on the basic pinning control of ikkyo, the first teaching of any pinning control in Aikido. The sensei, the founder, Muay Weshiba of Aikido, showed this technique many times over and over. And his feeling was if you could get ikkyo perfectly, then you pretty much didn't have any other problems with any other pinning controls. So let's get started with the first way of doing ikkyo. We start beginners out with a cross hand grab, which is that we're basically like this, and he's just grabbing at the hand that's in front. We're in 2 different types of Aikido stances. Hanmi. Hanmi means triangular stance. Scott has his left leg out, I have my left leg out, and when we both have the same leg out, we call I Hanmi, which means connective triangular stance. If we had an opposite leg out, it would be called Gyaku Hanmi. The reason I'm bringing this up is because there's a different way we would do ikkyo and how we would move according to which way our stance was. We're going to start off with the I Hanmi. Cross hand grab, and I'm going to throw a little Japanese terminology to you. Pick it up or not, but the cross hand grab in Japanese is called katate dori, wrist grab, I Hanmi. Katate dori, I Hanmi in this position. Ikkyo, first pinning control, is going to be taken in 2 different directions. Omote, a frontal direction, and ora, an around and behind direction. Now, there are 2 ways to move an Aikido. In omote, you would use that if you got a chance to get off the line. If you did not get a chance and you got grabbed and it was late, ora is a good way to go and be reflexive. Okay? So with that in mind, we know when to use omote and ora. And with pinning controls, all the 3 pinning controls I'm going to show today, we're going to show both those directions. So, with the first one, omote variation, angle a little bit. Let's start. What I would like you to do is, don't give you offered hand. There's a lot of Aikido that trains with offering the hand out and then moving from that, meaning the baiting. I disagree with that one. I think that if he wants the hand, don't have to bait him. He'll come off off balance here to grab, and then that way I can work with him. I don't need to give him good structure and give him my extremities. So at this point, he grabs. I yield to this grab, turning the hips. Open the arms, big cut, like a big sword cut. So as he grabs, big circle. At this point, as I come down, I'll set the other hand between the elbow and the tricep muscle. At this point, this is still not going to grab yet. I'm going to keep that energy cutting. This is controlling, manipulating his total energy. As I do this, I step up. At this point, now I will grab. Okay? The next move is just going to be the next leg up, and then just drop down on the knee. I'm taking this very slowly. And then we will set the arm in front of us at a 90 to 100 degree angle, preferably a little bit more than 90. My knees at the wrist, my knee at the armpit, my hand on its wrist, the other hand is between the elbow and the tricep, and I'm here. There's 3 ways to do this pin. Turn around for me. 3 ways to finish the ikkyo. I've seen 3 different ways all around the world by different Aikido practitioners, high ranking. One way is just to perch on there, keeping this triangulation of energy going into a point right there. And really not causing pain, but he can't get up. It's kind of a feeling of, let's say if you were lying on the ground and somebody had a baby carriage they rode across your arm with about 400 pounds in it. And that's what that would feel like. So, hopefully that was an analogy that made sense. But what you want to do is put the energy into this area here and center it, okay? And just pin, and he feels it, taps, and then you would let him go, and then you continue your practice. The other way to do it is to actually bring down, come behind the hand here, underneath the bridge of the knuckles, very much like our stretching exercise of Ikkyo. We're going to come down here, pin, come around here, get behind, not like this, but behind, getting the C part of your hand behind the bridge, grip, and then bring it together. Again, not like this, get behind, keeping the wrist straight and energy, and bring it together. Point made from in the rear. Toes must be together in the back. Not like this. Everything just falls right out. You want to keep centered. I feel very uncomfortable in this. I can't even stand it. So you just don't want to have your feet everywhere, all over the place. Keep them centered. Triangle. You got a triangle happening here, and you have a triangle happening here. So you are now focused with base and focused with energy. So this is the 3 ways we're going to see Ikkyo be applied at the end. So you're allowed to use those 3 ways. Okay, ready, Scott? Okay. So, the omote, going in front, he grabs, I yield, I cut, I step, I drop. Settle down, you don't have to be crazy here. At this point, Aikido is very controlled. And to a point that we don't try to viciously hurt people, we just chill out, man, you know? Done. Keep them subdued. Now, Ola variation, same pin. I'm going to come and move. As he moves, I come up and spin, corkscrew this around, and as much as it's necessary. 180, 360. Doesn't matter. Take them down like a corkscrew. At this point, this leg right here, watch what happens. It's already in the armpit. I've already got this pressure, hand position, it's already there. So all I need to do is drop my knee, slide that right down, and he's right where I need him. Okay? Or here. And then I'm going to show you a third one I've seen. Grab, same as the first one, except you're going to pick up and snap on the elbow a little bit. I've seen that at several other dojos. Okay? Now, with the Ola, you're going to move, stepping as far behind him as possible, and let this energy cut, bring him into your center, and then down. Okay? I'm going to show you different variations of the same technique against a strike called shomanuchi. The omote variation against a frontal strike. Frontal strike. Coming up as he comes up. Don't wait for this. I mean, I can see him moving. So if he brings it up real fast, I'm in. I'm not worried about what I'm going to do. So he brings it up real fast, I'm in. Even if I don't get this, I got that. Okay? So enter, plug in the current. He goes back, I come up. And then step through and down. Okay? And pin. Or pin. Or just perch. Okay? Again, side, shomanuchi, omote. Coming here, practice from standing natural. Don't be prepared. Practice just from standing natural, and then he comes in and move. And then at this point here, and pin. Do not do this. This is the I see beginners do this all the time. It's a common habit. Watch. Never hurt your knees. Do not drop. Do not fall down before uke's down. There's another common mistake. What you want to do is never bottle the hands up here. Keep them extended. As he comes here, okay? As he comes here, extend that energy. Unbendable arm, which means in Aikido, there's so much energy going through here that we don't bend the arm anymore. And here, and then down to the pin. All right? Now, all up on this, I'm behind him, see? I'm not grabbing for this. He's taller than me. I'm not going to be up here grabbing. I got control. How much control? Not enough with a grab. How much with motion? Well, plenty. plenty. So I'm nowhere near as strong as him physically. But I have my Aiki that he doesn't. So what I need to work with is yielding, reflexiveness. That's nice. All right. Questions? Or again, here. Or again, just perching. Okay. Now, a multi, the first one I did, if he throws at you and you wait, it's going to be a problem. So as soon as he moves in, move. Or you might have a little bit of a delay. Like again, I brought up, get off the line, do a multi. Didn't get off the line, or was probably your best bet. That was Ikkyo. Ikkyo is your first pinning control that you will learn for your first rank in any Aikido school. All right, now we're going into the second pinning control here called Nikkyo. Nikkyo is probably one of the more painful pinning controls in Aikido. Again, there's another pinning control that has its roots in Jiu-Jitsu and does look similar to a lot of locking controls that you see in other systems. But Aikido, the way we do it and the way I do it is keeping the energy fluid. The first way, my assistant, Mr. Scott, so well, first thing we're going to do is that cross stand. Now, the reason I go through, and the reason I've only picked like 2 different types of attacks to deal with these techniques against, is because I feel that these techniques could be best demonstrated through these attacks, that you can see what's happening. And then you should be able to get well versed with that makeup of the nomenclature of the technique, and then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to be able to do it against other types of attacks. So we don't have enough room and time to do 90 million techniques. If basically all you need to do is learn Nikkyo. So what we're going to start with is again, I-Han-ni, cross hand grab, Kata Dori. I'm going to show you a multi-variation out of this of Nikkyo. I'm going to come off the line and then I'm going to trap his fingers, and this is basic. This has been in a lot of different styles. And what they do is they come over top. I've seen it in Shin-up, I've seen it in Aiki Jiu-Jitsu, Jiu-Jitsu, Hapkido. A lot of different styles have this. Where I'm going to make it different though. Okay, and he'll drop down and he'll feel the pain in the wrist here. Where I'm going to make it different, instead of closing my hands here, I'm going to open my hands and cut with energy. Why? Because my feeling is if I close my hands, he can counter me by trapping my hands and dropping Nikkyo on me. So with that, with this at least, if he tries to trap my hand, I can come in and strike, or I can release and get out of there. Okay? So, and plus the energy flows better without a grip. It flows better. So we're going to start here, grab, come off the line. Make sure this Z happens. Nikkyo has to look like the stretch. You got to have a bend of 90 degrees here, 90 degrees here, getting that pinky back toward him. He feels the pain here. All right? Bring the Nikkyo out, cut in, and bring it back into you. Bring it back into you. At this point now, I'm just going to row here, and now we're going to show you something different. I'm going to show you this pin, the cradle pin. Turn around for here. And this will be the pin you do in Nikkyo, on classical Aikido, on every Nikkyo you do. I'm going to have the sandwich, the shoulder between the armpit and the collarbone with your knees. You're going to have to be in the kneeling position. Get up off your heels, down, butt off of them, straight up. You're going to take the knife edge of the hand, put it in the crux of the elbow, and just do like a curl. The other hand is going to cut into the elbow here of his arm, and then you're just going to turn your torso toward his head, and he feels pain going down the arm. This, I call it the cradle pin, because it looks like you're holding a baby. What you're going to do is you're going to bring them down every time on Nikkyo. Now let's show them. We'll take from that cross hand, Kata Dori grab. Again, come off the line, make sure the Z happens, cut, row, and at this point, manipulation. Anytime he gives you a hard time, you got a lot of good controls. You can do a lot of different things, but at this point, that's all you want to do. Okay? Now, ora. We do have a Nikkyo ora. with the same posture, the going around. As he grabs, I'm going to start this with a little bit more static. If I see him picking me off, trying to grab me, I'm going to move a little bit. As he picks me off, I move around a little bit and then spin him here. And at this point here, do the same cradle pin right here. Again, watch here. Okay, all right. Cut here, and then come around, and then the cradle pin. Now look at the back of my legs. It's a good chance to see how the back posture is on the cradle pin. Toes together, off of my up, so I can elongate Uke's arm, and sandwich and turn. Okay, so that's Nikyo, cross hand grab, kata de dori, ai hanmi, omote and ora. You saw as I cut the arm, I really just kind of make a circle out of this. Same with if I'm going ora, circles, all over the place. Now we're going to go ahead and start the second variation of Nikyo against something not as loose. It's going to go against the shoulder grab. We call katadori. It's going to grab the shoulder. And he could grab the shoulder to hit me with another hand or whatever. The way we're going to do Nikyo here is a little detail. As he comes up, I'm going to show you a mote and ora variation. A mote first. As he's got me, he grabbed me. I'm going to make sure I separate my distance, when in Aikido we call mahai, my combat distance, okay, by just, voiding him, by not so much a strike, but just kind of this extension, voiding him, stepping side back, sliding down the arm, buckling the elbow a little. At this point right here, he's overextended. I'm going to come up to the arm, and now I'm going to adjust by coming in, turning the hand, adjusting and switching my feet, keeping my groin away from him, coming over top, buckling this elbow back in with my arm, and then trapping his arm here. I must, very important, I'm going to go ahead and get a close-up on here. I must leave this wrist open. It must come up around my collarbone. Don't have it too low. Up around the collarbone, not up on your face so he can punch you out. You want to make sure the Z's happening by coming in. Trap the hand, keep that wrist open so he can feel pain. You cover the wrist, he can't do anything to it. And then take the pinky and head toward his head, drop down in Nikyo. And then we're going to spin him around, and then again, here with the cradle pin. Now, the thing with ora Nikyo, and the mote Nikyo, sometimes you turn when you're not supposed to turn, sometimes you can walk forward, especially when you're getting grabbed. Here's a real definite mote. I kind of went a mote ora there. I kind of started up going and turned it. This is a definite mote. He grabs, I extend, I bring down, I come right here, come right up, okay? And I can actually not do the Nikyo here, I can actually do the Nikyo right there as I'm rowing him down, there it is. And then bring him all the way down, and then come here. And then the cradle pin. The ora variation, okay, as he grabs, I back off, don't let him get me, bring him around in a circle, place him there, like I showed you, here, and then again, behind a second circle, and the cradle pin. Okay? So again, the first Nikyo we did, a mote, here, big circles, here, ora, coming around, here, all right? I locked up in the beginning, you do two Nikyos, one, and then you move them around on ora, and then you do the pin. Katadori, here, 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 if you want, or here, here, here if you want. But you're going right in front of them. Take them down and do the cradle pin. All right? So these are the coverages of Nikyo. Nikyo can be executed quickly. Snap an arm or wrist real fast. We don't need to snap into Nikkyo as a constant practice because people's wrists do get tore up. So be cool with it. You can practice good Aikido if you work with people and don't hurt them. He knows it. And just, is it effective? Well, your training is. You got a partner to train with. You tear your wrist up, you have none. It's real easy to go, rip, and he's got nothing left. So when you practice these pinning controls, practice submitting the person and not destroying them. Okay, we're going to give you another different way of doing Aikido. Aikido has other ways of doing technique, freehand technique. They also do things in sitting position, like both of us are in a seiza position, traditional Japanese sitting position. And these techniques that we do out of this position are called sawari waza, sitting techniques. We also have a one person sitting, one person standing, and that would be hanmi-adachi. We'll get into other hanmi-adachi techniques with pinning control later. Right now we're going to do ikkyo, a molte and ora from shomanuchi strike, the frontal strike to the head. Very much like the standing variation. I'm going to show you the molte variation first. As he throws his shomanuchi, I rise and I lift my leg, I row, and then he is now pinned. And I'm kind of going off of the center of where I normally would go to show you the pin. Same again. Remember the 3 pins, the perch, then of course the wrist, and then of course the little pressure area, lifting the elbow and putting it lifting the wrist and putting it into the tricep area. Ikkyo, basically the sawari waza is practiced a lot. When I was in Japan, I practiced it a lot. This really helps your hips. What you want to remember when you do this technique is to rise, to receive, and redirect uke's strike with shomanuchi, and then bring it into this close to this hip here, and then manipulation now will come. All right? So that is sawari waza omote ikkyo. Now, sawari waza ikkyo ora, and we'll take it from shomanuchi again, is I come here, and I'm just going to take this outside step out here, use this as my pivot point, you can see between here, and then just row, bringing into my hip. Okay, now look at the back end of me. Again, remember, the toes are together, knees are in the armpit and wrist area, back is as straight as can be, not too hunched over, and then do our pin. Arm 90 plus degrees to 110 from the side of the back. Again, from this view, right there angle for me, Mr. Scott, right there. From this view, same shot, as he comes up, I step around and row, and now adjust yourself with patience but control. Don't take all day to do it, pinning down here, but then again, don't be frantic enough where you lose the pin. All right, and there's your pin. Again, the 3, I keep on going over those 3 different variations. With this, we're going to go ahead now and go right here, since we're down on the ground, and move into Nikkyo. Second pinning control, sawari waza technique. We're going to go against the shoulder grab, a katadori again, a molte variation. He grabs, I strike, I come down on the arm. Take the hand, now switch my hip and lock him up. At this point now, I will get him on his face, roll him a little bit, and do the famous cradle pin I've been showing you through this tape. Here, for Nikkyo. There it is. Take a look. Again, other side, he grabs, I'm taking it from our angles, strike, here, turn the wrist. Now I switch my hips here. Now watch what happens here. See how I did that? And I keep my feet together. I'm not all over the place. Making that Z happen. And again, the cradle, set it there. Don't try to set it there. And the cradle pin. Okay? Now we'll go into Nikkyo, sawari waza, ora. And I'm going to have Mr. Scott do something a little different for me. Instead of grabbing my shoulder, what I'm going to have him do is throw a Shomanuchi strike. So watch this slowly. We'll do this slowly. He throws the Shomanuchi strike. I'm going to just not even worry about going after the Nikkyo yet. I'm just going to bring him around and then form it. Here, I'm doing this really slow. And lock him down, and then again, spin him around. Keep the control, and then, there you go. Now, most Aikido doesn't have a lot. There are some, and I've seen some schools that use a little bit of groundwork where they're actually on their backs and stuff. But this is probably the majority of what Aikido does on the ground. We mainly like to keep our hips moving. We don't want to get really on our back or on our stomach. We have techniques that can work with that, but they're not in the basic Aikido. They're usually whatever sensei decides they want to do some groundwork. But traditional Aikido, this is probably the most extreme of the ground actual down here that you'll get at this medium here. Alright? So you need to work these things. With every pinning control you do, try Sawari Waza variations of that pinning control. See if you can do it without your legs. And maybe if you can do it with just hip power, you really understand the technique and its power, its true power. It's always good to be able to escape out of something, but then if you're always escaping out of something, you never can truly see if anything you do really works. So let's try to do these techniques. When we do the pinning control, make sure that when you pin them, you're not all over the place, you're freaking. Just make sure you pin them and pin them with authority and pin them definitely where they can't get up. Okay, we're going to go into the third pinning control technique known as Sankyo. A staple technique in Aikido, Jiu-Jitsu, and a lot of other grappling martial arts. But the Sankyo seems to be real choice of techniques in the pinning controls with beginners because they can apply it pretty easy. What we're going to work with is, let me bring my assistant, Mr. Scott Sobel, here. Let me show you what the ending result of the Sankyo is going to be, the third pinning control. Basically, what you're going to do is get the person's hand positioning into this area here. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn and torque up the hand by having the top hand across the back of the hand and the knife edge with the fingers up top here, keeping the wrist clear. And then the stepping of the fingers here, boop, 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 we're going to come up into that and grab it like so. Now what we're going to do is not just turn. What we're going to work with here, okay, is we're going to work with turning and going up, very much like you're torquing in a light bulb. So not just turning spherically, you're going to turn and rise. You're getting the uke, or person receiving the technique, onto their toes. So this is what you're trying to get them to do. And then eventually you'll pin them and there'll be other Sankyo pinning controls. So we're going to work on this one right now. We're going to take it from two attacks, one from a strike, one from a grab. The first one we're going to do, classical Aikido striking, is going against the Shomanuchi strike. Shomanuchi strike is coming up above and coming straight down. Very fast, very gravity is going with it. There's not much power needed by the attacker because gravity is already going to give him something. When you have a strike like this, trying to control it anywhere in the middle here is going to be ridiculous. What eventually happens is that it blows past you so fast that you can't get control. So you either got to get control before it really conjures up power or once it's passed after. And we're going to show you how to do that. Now, when we work with Ikkyo, the first pinning control, we have a row series that we show you for all pinning controls. And that's that rowing the boat, rowing the extremity like an oar. That we want to get into not trying to hyperextend and immediately lock. We want to take the energy and row it and bring it back in the center. Alright? So as he throws this Shomanuchi up, I do not want to be reactive, I want to be proactive. Even though Aikido is totally reflexive and totally a self-defense martial art, we do not sit there and wait for the attacker. If he's lining up and he lifts that arm up, I'm moving. Okay? I'm not going to sit and wait for him to, so I have to do with this. We don't do this here. Because that's conflict right there. Now we're going to be countering. What we want to do in Aikido is move. As he moves up, I move up. So what I did was I moved up. As soon as he lifted that hand up, I took it. I took it. Redirect the whole body, turn it around. Row this. Elbow, tricep, row it, buckle it. Bring it right here. Step up. At this point, he tries to grab the leg or anything, I can hyperextend. And I like to hyperextend or do my grappling or any of my joint locking like a strike. I just don't grab and just press. I like to put it there and place a shot in there, but keep it. What that does is hyperextend with implosion. Implosion, you get more reaction from the retrieval than I do putting it in there. So if you watch what I do, I come here and relax. At this point, I can either bring down so he doesn't get back up here, or I like to get him down low where I can put the knee. If he tries to get back up, he's got a little bit of a problem. He has to clear my knee. At this point, I'm going to apply Sancho. Here, keep control here. Come back under here, turn it, lock it. Now he starts getting crazy here. We got him. Got total control. At this point now, all right, you're going to come around the front. Now there's two pinning controls we do in Sancho. We do a sitting cradle pin and we do a standing kind of thrusting pin. What we're going to do is the sitting cradle pin first. We're going to take this, come up here, and then come around, buckle the arm back in, come around the front of me, keeping this torqued Sancho torqued. Anytime he tries to grab toward me, I'll just tear that thing right up. So we're submitting him by non-aggression, but if he tries to buck the system here, him getting out, he's putting the pain on himself. At this point, I drop this knee. Okay, I have my knee between his collarbone and shoulder area, right in the next to the neck. The other knee will go into the armpit area. And now I will switch my hands, taking this across here, close up here, and turn this at the same time like you're offering hors d'oeuvres. Real soft and smooth, turn the hip, he's locked. Now if I got nasty with this, you can do a lot of thousand things. You can turn a finger, do all that. But all you need to do to snap things is relax it. He's locked. He tries to get up. He tries to get up. He tries to get up real hard. All right, so once you've got the body mechanics manipulated where they can't, there's no stress relief, he can't move. He can move and wiggle, but he can't get up. So we're going to torque this. We'll call this the cradle Sancho pin. Okay, again. Comes up. I receive. Throw it. Step in. Transfer. Here, it's right there. Torque it. And you say, this is pretty uncomfortable. Will you bring it to him? That whole time, that's going to torque that Sancho. Here. Here. Come around. And then here. And here. Got to remember, Aikido is still a grappling martial art. Although it's not as grappling as Jiu-Jitsu and Judo and things like that, it's still grappling. We like to stand and grapple. We're not on the ground too much. That's about as far as we'll go on the ground. So with this, you want to make sure that you get the pin, apply it here before you get downstairs. Okay? All right. That is the striking Sancho. Now we're going to go ahead and continue to do another variation of this Sancho. Instead of coming up front, we're going to come from behind. And we're going to turn. I didn't get off the line quick enough. He's getting it now. I can't do this. I can't catch it here. So the other way I said was to wait. Don't wait for movement. Okay? Body movement. Wait to do a technique to him. So watch what happens here. Thank you. Right here. Now with this, then we're going to start spinning him around and do a standing pin. So as he comes up, I parry, bring it up, get behind me. All right, now bring this tight in. Anything he tries to do, side kick to my knee, anything throws it, breaks his wrist. I mean, he tries to thrust kick that knee. Go ahead. Tries to punch me in my lungs. He breaks it. Now, if I don't have it, he can kick my lights out. But if I have it, he tries to kick that snap. And he could break my knee, but that's gone. And he did it himself. So I'm applying Sankyo to submitting level, not destruction level. Submitting level means hold it to the point where he's tapping because it's pain. And he don't need any more given to him because it's going to hurt something. At this point, when you get your partner at that position, your manipulation is easy. Take him anywhere. You can pin him, you can throw him, you can take anywhere. Because you can do anything to get away from that. So what we're going to work with is the spinning variation. Coming up, parry, bring it up, lock, spinning around. And step this into the armpit area, and you're actually going to turn this, but you're going to act like you're thrusting a spear into them. And this move came from Japanese yari work. Yari is a long spear. And what happened with the yari is samurais would come and they would keep the guys off their horses and take them down their horses, and then they had these spears in them, and then they would. Okay, so at this point, we're going to turn, try to keep this wrist as straight as possible, and just torque. See how I'm turning the hip into it? Not too much, just enough. You want to kind of grind that wrist into a fine powder. There's something about bone. It can break, it can splinter, it can fracture. But when bone turns into a fine powder, it's no longer there. So if it's being grinded in the joints like that, pretty much when it's no longer there, is that person's not using that arm anymore, ever. They shouldn't have put their hands on you. Simple as that. So with that, here's the look. This scarecrow looking type of thing. Torque it. Okay, so again, go into the cavity behind him because he's going to come after you now. Got to get away from him like a dance. All right, and then watch. I'm going to keep the top hand on the meat of the Sankyo. The other hand's going to come in the knife edge here. I'm going to torque this up and I'm going to spin in a sphere. And then set this right into the cavity here. Keep your center right where that pin is, right there. Now watch. Or watch. So if you thrust it, it goes that way. If you put the hip into it, it goes that way. Either way it feels. Okay, so now we got the strikes. The front variation, the Aikido world calls that a mote. It's a frontal variation. That's when we take you off the line. The turning variation is called ola. That's spinning. Two directions in Aikido. Either you take them out or you redirect them around. You won't go any other way in Aikido. There's nothing linear. No linear motion in Aikido. So with the second one, you got to remember that you're not trying to control it. You're trying to just let this go and catch the back end of it. But move with it. Don't sit there and just do this. And then we were in here. Move with this. Move. Keep them in circles. People can't think in circles. Okay? So that's the Shomanuchi strike Sankyo, or mote and ola variation. We're going to move in to Sawari Waza with that Shomanuchi. Sawari Waza is sitting techniques that we do in Aikido. It builds up hip mobility. We're both sitting on our knees, Japanese Seiza style. And we do I'd say about a dozen techniques through the training of Aikido that are required in this posture. What we're going to work with is this Sankyo, the first one I showed you. Mr. Scott throw the strike out of Shomanuchi. I'll do the same thing. Okay? Move up, except instead of me putting my knee in the cavity, I'm going to put it right on the shoulder. Now I got this elbow I can break. Now I got the Sankyo. Why do I need it? And now instead of just straight in, I'm just going to take that wrist and take it right there and torque it at the same time. What's happening there, Mr. Scott?
Wrist is getting broken, elbow and shoulder also.
He's a chiropractor, so he knows what bones are connected to what. As soon as he feels that, the whole arm being taken away. Difference between grappling and taking out somebody's extremity. Let's put it this way. If you were to break this with a hard style strike, kick, strike, it would break in an area wherever it was struck. And would be a nasty one. Contusions, bruises, things like that. When you tear up things with Aikido, no bruising, no striking, But inside the skin here, all kinds of ugliness has happened. Let me go ahead, and Mr. Scott is, my assistant Mr. Scott is the doctor, so I'm going to go ahead and tell him, as I torque this, he'll tell you what's happening. Okay, so you got these type of things. Sometimes Aikido techniques are worth experiencing, and Dojo TV people can't feel it. So he'll explain to you. As I torque it, first thing that's happening, Mr. Scott.
First thing that's happening is by the little finger where it comes up and joins, the joint's locking out and starting to feel pressure of the radius of all them grinding together against the carpal bones.
Okay, now as I torque it cutting it into the center to place the Sankyo formally, I'm going to try to do this so he can talk, so he doesn't have to, you know, so I'm going to lighten up. All right, what do you feel now?
Start feeling a little more pressure on the outside ligaments. The joints are already locked out. The pressure's starting to spread.
Now watch when I turn it up like a light bulb. Tell him exactly what you feel now.
Ligaments all the way up. The bones are starting to rotate, and eventually they'll fracture over each other. Carpal bones are grinding into each other. Ligaments are tearing.
All right, now what happens to the elbow?
Elbow is being rotated and dislocating.
Okay, so I think that this person is not going to harm anyone with this hand anymore, wouldn't you say? All right, so this is what we're going to do. Now, the difference between somebody doing that kind of damage grappling and somebody doing it with a strike is the strike is over and done with. It's very much like a gun. It's like, boom, I'm done. You know, and you really are not sensitively responsible for what you just did because you can't feel it. But in Aikido, we feel every minute of what we're doing. So a person that takes you out in Aikido with a move, let's put it this way, they had to control that they didn't have to. So if they did and they broke something, you as the attacker or the attacker was really being frisky. So you need to remember that these things are just not going to break an arm and bruise up a bone. They're going to tear up tendons, ligaments, and joints that pretty much could maim you. So when you practice these type of techniques, be careful, be respectful, but don't get because this person might not be able to pick up their coffee cup next morning. And forever. Just a little mistake like that. So when you train, and you see these techniques, punches are easy to tell what they do. Kicks are easy to tell what they do. You can't tell what this does. Okay? Until later. So be careful. Don't underestimate it. Again, we're going back to Sawari Waza. With this, we're coming up, as he throws, watch the hip. Coming here now, step up, turn the hip in, trap. Hyperextend, come up here, and I've got all the time in the day. He tries to get up, but that's it. He tries to roll up and roll me over. That's it. I didn't break his arm, I just took his elbow and popped it. So the more he tries to fight me on this, the more I'm just going to receive it. What I want to do is get the Sankyo. Place the Sankyo, I can torque it, but I like this from here to here. Watch what happens. He's feeling it all right now. I'm not even hardly doing, look. Hardly doing anything. Hardly doing anything. It's all tore up. If I went, it would be gone. All right? So you want to work Sankyo on Sawari Waza because this is the closest we get to the grappling on the ground, and also to let you move your hips. It teaches you how to move your hips instead of using your legs. So with this again, watch. He throws the Shomanuchi up here. All right? Done. Okay? So then we're going to go ahead and also work with the Shomanuchi. If we want to spin with it, we can. We can come up in Sawari Waza, come here. Instead of going underneath the arm like we did on the standing variation, I just row this and do the same thing and trap it and lock it. Okay? So when you train in Aikido, you're going to go Sawari Waza techniques, standing techniques. It's all part of the curriculum. Okay, the next one we're moving on, Sankyo, is the grab. We're going to take it from a rear grab. We call rear grabs in Aikido Ushiro. Anything from the rear. We deal with things dynamically, which means we deal with things as they're coming. Okay? Not too much do we deal with this. Static. Okay? Because there's thousands of different techniques to do. And when someone's static and they grab, bear hug, or whatever, pretty much there's a lot of things you can do to tenderize them and get them off of you. And our thought process, okay, our thought process is not to get grabbed that way. Well, what happens if you do? What did I just say? Don't get grabbed that way. If you're skilled in your martial art, And your martial art dictates you don't get grabbed. You don't get grabbed. You train not to get grabbed. So watch what happens here. I have two ways I can do this. One way is static, but it isn't from back here. One way is I'm here, stands still, he grabs, comes around, locks me up from here. Okay, I'm going to come up here instead of trying to bring him up. I can't bring up, even if he holds my shoulders up higher, gets me almost like a full Nelson thing. I can't get him up out here. So even with the full Nelson thing, I can come in and go lower. Now, what happens here is, instead of me trying to pull up and using my strength, I'm going to center, drop center, and pull straight up. Now hold me tighter. Can't do anything. Drop center. Now, I got sign cue pickets here. All right, as soon as I get underneath here, block it. At this point, cut it down, and then bring the front, and let's do the cradle pin again. Again, look, close up. Don't monkey hand it. Use the thumbs, and then cut the hors d'oeuvres. All right. Again, a little bit more static. He comes around, he gets me wrapped up the way he did. Okay, I bring it up center, don't bend over, just drop center, come bring it straight up through the pocket, release. I see that one now. And I don't care if I have clearance, I'll make it. Okay? So, with that in mind, this is the rear grab, a multi-variation of Sancho. You notice I'm going frontwards. Now, we'll go with a Sancho Ola variation. We don't let him get us. It's solid. He comes around, we move with it, whoa, and then cut. And then cut, if I can't get free, cut it back at him. The Sancho's just been applied, and now watch. It's that standing pin. All right, so again, watch again, slow, please. He grabs, I'm going with this energy. I'm not waiting, see? Again, please. It's like a swinging door. As soon as he hits me, I move with it. Center it up. His momentum brings you right into that Sancho. That circle right around, right into that pin. At this point, I lock him up, cut him down, step in, and spin him around. Okay. Again, moving. And then block. Now these are basic pinning controls of Aikido. Basic. You learn them in the first couple months and you were being in an Aikido class. The reason I'm showing them slowly is because the most important thing in Aikido is motion. The techniques are an after product. They're not important at the point. Aikido is a motion martial art. If you're not there when the attack happens and you're evasive, a lot of Aikido is untangible so far as physical. You must go with the energy. You must go with motion. A lot of times Aikido could just be something like this. He tries to grab. It could be simply like this. It could be something nonchalant. It's really not a finishing martial art. We pin, we finish, but our philosophy is so non-aggressive that we're not destroying. If he's destroyed, he did it himself by not lightening up. Again, here, move, here, okay, and there. So there are our 4 Sankyos that we're demonstrating. Okay, we're going to go ahead and show you a finishing one on this standing, and this is called Hanmei Adachi. Like on the Sawari Waza, where both were sitting, we'll have one standing, and then one sitting on the ground. Now the big thing is that he's going to come around and probably go high, grab clothing here, and his intent is to trash me. Now you're saying, why doesn't he just throw a kick or something? Well, we have another move for that. If he throws a kick or a straight punch, we have other moves for that. Right now we're working with him just trying to get me on the ground. So I'm already down on my knees. I'm here. Now watch. He grabs. By the time you let him get this, he's got you. So as soon as he puts his hands on you on the first one, deal with that. That's your first attack. To me, that is already, he's already put his hands on you, you need to deal with. All I want you to do when he does that is trap it here. And then I just want you to take your hip and step back here. Okay? At this point, I'm leaving it here. All right? At this point, and then we have the cradle pen right there. Questions so far, Mr. Scott? Always ask that in class. All right, ready? On the side, watch the trap. Here, turn it up. Okay, and that would be Sankyo Hanmi Adachi, one person standing, one person sitting. About a half a dozen of those techniques required from white belt to black belt in Aikido. So you have these two sitting, one standing, and of course two standing. Obviously, down the road, we can show Sankyo and Nikyo against weaponry, knife, gun, but that'll be further down in the other tapes. Thank you very much.